Hello, friends. Joe here, Mike here from buildassetsonline.com. And today we're going to show you. That was funny. And if you're not watching on camera, he just made like a fist, and it was pretty funny. So, anyway, today we're going to talk about how you can find or spot fake drop shipping success stories because, as two people who do high ticket drop shipping as a main part of our online business portfolio, have been doing it for years. There's really three main red flags that at least stick out to me when I'm seeing some of these dropshipping success stories that kind of indicate that maybe you shouldn't really like believe that you shouldn't believe the hype. Not saying you shouldn't believe like a sales number or something, but you shouldn't believe the foundation or the hype that they're trying to say behind those sales numbers. So the first red flag for me, and Mike elaborate on this a little bit, is when I see a screenshot, I want to see at least part of the time. If someone's showing me a screenshot, it's okay just for one little case study, but I want them to at least show me years of consistent sales and growing.
Yeah. And otherwise, you're really just capitalizing off of essentially nothing. If you went out and you mowed lawns for a day and you made $500, you can flex the $500 and say, "Wow, look how great this is." But unless you've actually shown that you can do something consistently over time, get results from it, and not be totally worn out and still, you know, have passion for what you're doing, not hate what you're doing, then otherwise it means nothing, right? So, yeah, without years of results, you're really not demonstrating any sort of expertise. You're just showing that you've had one-time success, and one-time success is certainly easy to come by. Anyone can have it. It's almost like a flash in the pan. But if you
Yeah.
have backed up years of success, it's more like a resume versus just getting a good grade on one test.
Yeah, I think, that's something that's especially true is that it's not that hard to have a short span of success. I mean, when we first started doing drop shipping, we had months where we were successful, and then we had months where we were not successful. And it was
Yeah.
only after, months and months and years plus of carving that out and figuring out exactly what we're doing, were we able to be successful consistently. I
Yeah, I
think that,
forgot about that because that's totally true. We would have months where we would do better than basically everyone around us that we saw that was drop shipping. And at the time, it didn't, to be honest, like I didn't feel like we were that successful. I didn't feel like we knew what we were doing. We had just gotten a certain result. But in my mind, personally, at that time, it didn't feel repeatable. It didn't feel stable. But now, after you proving it to myself for, several years, then now it's at the point where, okay, I feel like we could talk about it. But if, we had been different people and we hit like 40K a month in sales, people would listen to us if we touted that, right?
yeah.
Back in the day, that was a big deal. But yeah, I could tell you, and I'm sure you agree with this, at the time it didn't feel like we actually knew anything.
No, exactly. And I think a lot of people make claims about how you can do something without actually having the full knowledge to back it up. I mean, that's one of the things I see all the time, and that's why I like to have years of sales. I don't like when I watch a YouTube video and it's like, "Hey guys, look how I made $5,000 in sales,
Yeah.
not even $5,000 profit, by drop shipping just by doing this one thing. So basically, I just contacted these influencers and I made sure that they were good ones, and yeah, I got some great results." Like,
Yeah.
again, like the term you use, flash in the pan, meaningless. So we don't have to ramble on about that one. I think it's pretty obvious. So let's move on to number two. I think in order to for me, for a drop shipping success story to be legitimate, they have to have sold one website at least, or have the intentions to sell it.
I would disagree even on the intentions because anyone could have intentions. It doesn't mean anything. To sell a website is actually a hassle, and it's not as fun, and like the cash out, once it's done, it's like a sigh of relief. You have the money in the bank and it's over. But until you actually go through with the selling process, people don't realize how not easy it is.
Yeah,
And we,
yeah.
you have like empire flippers, and not to say that getting someone interested isn't easy, but to sell a website, you need to essentially go through your entire store's history, given at that point you probably have a good 18 months of sales history. You need to figure out the profit of every single sale you've ever made, all of your expenses, and it's a pain. And so whether your intentions are to do it or not, unless you actually put in the time to sell a dropshipping store, then you don't really know what it takes to do it, and to go forth and sell it, have someone else verify that what you're doing is legit, be interested in it enough to spend tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars on something you've created, then yeah, it's not the same.
Yeah, I retract what I said there. You're definitely right about that, and I echo your sentiment because you have to. Your store has to be successful enough, and there has to be the metrics backing it that someone else is going to buy it. That kind of like mocking example that I gave before of like, hey, check out my store. I did 5,000 in sales by contacting influencers. No one's gonna buy that store. So,
Yeah.
to verify and prove that in the marketplace of buying and selling web businesses that you've created something legitimate, yeah, it has to be done. It has to be done for it to be a legitimate success, I think.
Starting out, people tend to do things in a more immature way, and we were in the same boat where, yeah, if you're starting from nothing, contacting influencers making $5,000 seems like the best thing you should do, because you can wrap your whole head around the picture. It's persuasive. When we talk about selling a business, I think sometimes for newer people listening to the content, it almost goes over their head because it's not as appealing. It's not as appealing to talk about these things, because selling a business, like I said, is hard. It's the mature thing, because if you want to actually create wealth that you could have for the rest of your life, it's not going to be through contacting influencers. It's going to be through an established system of creating businesses, having the ability to sell them, having enough proof in what you're doing that people are interested in it and will buy it. So, yeah, I can see what people fall into that stuff, and we've certainly done it. Like, no denying there. We bought $27 courses, and we've fallen for all types of stupid things. So, it's not a knock on anyone or anything, but
It's part of the process. Definitely is
yeah.
fault. And I think, as a matter of fact, before we move on to point number 3, it is, like you said, it is the better long-term strategy to kind of do the things we talk about, build long-term businesses, yada, yada, yada. But the truth is, from a mental level, it's not as much fun as when do something and you get like a quick response. Like, yeah. And when it's that first $100, that first $1,000, it's way more exciting than, the day-to-day minutia of slowly building and repeating and building processes. Yeah. I mean, listen, don't get me wrong. It's way better than a real job, and I'm not complaining about it in the slightest, but it doesn't have that rush from that. If you were to maybe make $100 from like your influencer sale, and it's like your first $100 online.
Yeah. No, there's certainly merit to being interested in those things. It's definitely natural. And so, yeah, I just meant to actually have proof that you've sold a website is proof that you've gone through that phase and you've kind of graduated to a more mature level.
Yeah. So the third red flag is the kind of the digital nomad type thing. When you see someone, I mean, it really could be a multitude of things, but a lot of people, you can elaborate on this, will kind of show off their lifestyle. And they could do it in a number of ways. They can show you their cars. They can show you where they're living. Maybe they're living in some sort of tropical area or something. And like, this is my life, and it's all because I did this online business. That is something to be wary of, because if that's something that you're interested in and you're kind of desperate or something, or like, maybe they have something that you really want, you're going to be responding to that more emotionally than logically. because you're gonna be like, oh man, like I really want that car, or like I really want to like live that life, like just sitting on the beach with my laptop, like, and you're not really going to be. It's not what they're at the substance of what that success story might be lost in the shadows of the image of success.
Yeah, I think image and lifestyle is the easiest thing to fake. Because if you look at even just the whole idea of Instagram, is that you curate content. You curate what's visually appealing, and you share that stuff. So it's you don't have to be you don't have to be financially free to take a nice vacation, or even to be a digital nomad. And like I have plenty of friends, like people I'm very good friends with that do that. One of them or two of them may even come on the podcast one day. But to say that they are extremely financially successful, I would not necessarily agree with that. To say that they've created a set of diverse assets and systems that they've built, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that, because living as a digital nomad is actually cheaper than living in the U.S. for most intensive purposes. And you can go off to Asia. We can retire to Asia right now, and just do whatever and have better Instagram content for it, and talk about how we were able to retire off dropshipping and whatever else. Like, we could do that, but again, it's just something that would play on your emotions, and your it's just optically appealing. It doesn't actually have any correlation to real success. And on that note, I know people that do well, that live that type of life, but I also know people that don't do well that have lived that life. Like I was in Thailand for 2 months, and I can say I was probably making the least amount of money I've ever made when I was there. But I also met people who were really not making anything. Like I met people who were freelancers, and you go and you live in these places because it's cheap, even though it looks nice, and you can say you're living this great life, and that's why people should listen to you. It does not matter at all. And also, not to say that we don't do this at all. I mean, we've made videos in my Tesla before, and I think we do that almost to poke fun, but people definitely respond to it, and you do need to create a little bit of persuasion when you do stuff, but it should just not be. It's not the whole package. It's just a very small percentage of it, especially if people aren't putting out content of themselves in all situations. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, so those are the 3 red flags, and I wanted to add something a little bit off topic, but an interesting idea I had. If any of you out there wants to create it, the social media of the future, I think, would not be curated content like Instagram, like you said, but I think the social media of the future would be following around and showing everything you do. And if you want to sign up for it, then
so it's like
good for you.
It's like something follows, secret cameras, and then it'll just take a random picture, post it.
No, I'm saying a 24/7 live video feed of whatever you're doing, whatever you're doing.
That's how you'll know.
Yeah, that's how you'll know.
That's how you know who's really successful.
So if anyone wants to invent that, cut me in 5%.
We will invest.
Yeah, we'll invest. All right, so that about wraps us up, guys. Be careful out there. Just watch out for those red flags. Don't get inundated and don't get hypnotized by, the image of success. And actually make sure you're actually listening to people's content and understanding if the advice that they're giving makes sense long term and short term. So that's about it for this one. Don't forget to grab our free course, buildassetsonline.com/playbook, and be sure to like and subscribe if you're on YouTube, and please leave us a review on iTunes or Stitcher if you're listening to the podcast format. So that's it. We'll see you in the next episode.
Take it easy.